Hello, my name is Pastor Mike, and I serve at St. Paul Lutheran Church in Elizabeth, Illinois. This is episode 4, Genesis chapter 4, and it is titled Cain, Abel, and Seth. When Adam and Eve made the decision to disobey God in the Garden of Eden, sin entered into the world as our punishment. But all of our pain and suffering in this fallen world is not only a reminder for us about our disobedience. God's good world that He created for us has now changed and will never be good again. Our pain and suffering is our punishment, but it also has another purpose. It's a way that can lead us back to God, who promised to save us and redeem us through Eve's offspring. You see, our pain that we experience, if it is bad enough, can cause us to look upward and beg God for help, especially when nothing on this earth can help us in our suffering. We can always look up, turn to God, and ask for His help. This is the first step towards salvation, understanding that God is here. He is willing to help us if we genuinely turn back to Him. Genesis chapter 4. Now Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord. And again she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain a worker of the ground. In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground. And Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering. But for Cain and his offering He had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his face fell. The Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry? And why has your face fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it. Cain spoke to Abel, his brother, and when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, Where is Abel, your brother? He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And the Lord said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. And now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it shall no longer yield to you its strength. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. Cain said to the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me today away from the ground, and from your face I shall be hidden. I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. Then the Lord said to him, Not so. If anyone kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord put a mark on Cain lest any who found him should attack him. Then Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. When he built a city, he called the name of the city after the name of his son, Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad fathered Mehuel, and Mehuel fathered Methuselah, and Methuselah fathered Lamech. And Lamech took 2 wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other Zillah. Adah bore Jabal. He was the father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all those who play the lyre and pipe. Zillah also bore Tubal Cain. He was the forger of all instruments of bronze and iron. The sister of Tubal Cain was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice. You wives of Lamech, listen to what I say. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for striking me. If Cain's revenge is 7-fold, then Lamech's is 77-fold. And Adam knew his wife again. She bore a son and called his name Seth. For she said, God has appointed for me another offspring instead of Abel, for Cain killed him. To Seth also a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. At that time, people began to call upon the name of the Lord. So far, the text. A sin brings about pain, suffering, and death. Cain murdered his brother because he was angry. And when God gave him the opportunity to confess his sin, Cain did not. So he was further punished by God to wander the earth and to be separated from God. Recorded in Genesis chapter 4, verse 16. In Genesis chapter 4, we see Cain's descendants continue to sin without remorse, to the point where Lamech boasts that his sin was much greater than Cain's. Is this what mankind is left to? Where people sin grows more and more violent, where they brag about it. Since Cain's descendants end being consumed with their sin, and since Abel is dead, where will the promised Messiah come from? From what line will he come from? At the end of Genesis chapter 4, these words are written, verse 25 and 26. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and called his name Seth. For she said, God has appointed for me another offspring instead of Abel, for Cain killed him. To Seth also a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. At that time, people began to call upon the name of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Not all was lost. Yes, some people chose to sin, but some at that time were calling upon the name of the Lord, turning to him, seeking him, asking him for help, thanking him. Thanks be to God.